Thank you, Steve. And we are recording, and I was reminded last time that I should let you know that you're being recorded, and if you don't want your face to be seen, turn off your video. But um, welcome to our next to last pre-pet session. Um, Traditionally, we've done another session on the foundation and how the Rotary Foundation works locally. I found that to be redundant. And so I thought this year, instead of doing that, what we would do is have a panel discussion with panelists from various clubs talking about projects that have been district and global projects that have been done by their clubs to get your ideas rolling for what projects you may want to propose. And the reason I wanted to get you started on that path now is that the deadline for submitting a grant inquiry for a local district grant is by May 15th. And if you are just take the grant training in March and you realize you have a May 15th deadline, then you're kind of in a crunch to come up with an idea. So I thought that this would be a good use of your time to learn about some of the projects that have occurred around our district. And we are missing one of our panelists. So just to start things off, I'll talk about a project that the Mentor Club did back in 2019. We had a district grant project that didn't pan out for various reasons. We were able to reuse the money for another one as long as it fell within the guidelines. And we reached out to Torchlight Youth Mentoring, and which was formerly known as Big Brothers Big Sisters, and there's Matt. So I will stop my story, but while Matt joins, we ended up creating a sensory therapy space in the home for children who are in the custody of Jobs and Family Services in Lake County, and found that to be the reports from the residents there, the manager, is that that's been very well received, and there are up to 17 children there at any one time who are served by that. And we refreshed it as part of the Satellite Club about 18 months ago. So with that,
but Dale, you said that you had a project that fell through and you were able to redirect that money to a different project?
Yeah, if you do it within the same year and you're timely and you're on the spot, you can do that with the grant committee.
Huh.
If you've had an approved inquiry and it's for the same or lower dollar amount, this was actually slightly lower. So we had to return some funds. Okay. But yeah, you can often make that work.
Hey, Peter, are we looking at doing that for Geauga West?
Yeah, Chris was going to, Chris is on the grant committee, and Chris is our club president, and he was going to investigate that and see what could be done.
Yeah, we had a project there that fell through, just like you were talking about.
Okay.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. And Ray, if you don't mind, if I could put you on the spot. You said you were ready to go a few minutes ago before folks joined. So what we'd like to do is go over the three.
Excuse me, Dale.
Yes.
And, I know you said Ray's ready to go, but we promised Scott we'd get him out first. So
that's true. Do you want to go ahead and go, Scott? Thanks for the correction there, Steve.
No worries. I appreciate you guys accommodating me since I'll be leaving a little later to go to another meeting. I first wanted to thank Dale for putting this together. I started chairing our Strongsville Rotary Club grant committee about 6 years ago. And then I think about 4 years ago, I joined the district grant committee. And I learned a lot. That was a real eye opener to go from being in a club and working through the grant process and submitting your information to the grant committee and maybe not always understanding it completely what was happening there or why they'd come to you and ask certain questions. And then having served on that for a little while, you gain a lot of insight and knowledge. The one thing I would say also is for people who work on the grants, if you can get access to the grant portal, and it's an awesome tool. It really is, at least for me, I found it to be pretty straightforward, and it helps you walk your way through the process from start to finish, where you're filling out the initial application and then adding your budget information and project overview and providing reports as you go along. It's really pretty easy to use. So I think it had been shared with everybody, or maybe not. They had asked us to talk about certain projects, and I was going to talk about our safety town in Strongsville, but that project has been put on hold for a little while because we're doing a big project to revamp our town center, and we want to wait to see how that shapes up before we get into doing some of the maintenance that's needed on our safety town. So I'll go back a year to a project we did on what we call a Freedom Trail. And we, years ago, probably a decade ago, they built a Freedom Trail to honor our veterans. And there's monuments there and benches and garden space and a gazebo, a water feature. And so, as time marches on, the elements take their toll on that stuff, and everything had gotten a little bit tired. So when we go through the grant training each year, like Dale said, around March, and we might even bring it up with the club a little bit before that, our club membership, we have a lot of cross-pollination with other groups in town, the VFW or our churches or the schools, or volunteering with the police department. So we ask everybody to kind of put their thinking caps on and think about projects that could be done around town, and often in concert with another group, where we'll take the lead to pursue the matching grant funding, but then work with folks in those groups. So in this case, we worked with the VFW, we worked with the city, the Kiwanis. We pulled people in from a few different groups to work with us once we ultimately got all the materials. But the grant itself, when we submitted it, the total financing for the project was over $12,000. But for purposes of what we applied for, it was only $6,000, $3,000 of which would have been a match from the district, because they set a different amount from year to year that they're able to provide in the way of matching funds. So the balance of that funding for our project came from other sources, and you guys will learn about that as you get into applying for grants. If you haven't yet, your budget for what you're going to do doesn't necessarily have to be totally capped at what your club and what the match can provide, but you can also have funds from other sources. So after we got approval for the project by presenting what we were going to do in May, and in the essence of what we were doing was to get some new plantings, mulch, and some stone that was going to be placed at certain areas to revamp the water feature. We then got on a schedule with a contractor and some of the local landscape places to have all those materials available to us last spring here in 23, and then lined up all the people to get together for a couple weekends and just kind of chip away at different phases of that work. There was kind of more rough work where we were first kind of tearing stuff out and prepping the area, and then in a following weekend going in to do all the final planting and spreading of the mulch and getting to the finished product. So there were some delays in some of the materials. So and I think some of you will say you've run into this yourselves. Sometimes it's a little bit of a hurry up and wait, and then everything kind of comes together. And when all the resources and the people are ready, you can crank through some of these projects pretty quickly to get them done. So we waited for quite a while, but once all the materials came together, it was, I think, less than a month that we were able to get people together a few times to do the work and then wrap it up and provide our final report to the grant committee so that they could sign off that all the appropriate receipts and You also, they like it if you take pictures of the work while it's in progress and the finished product, and you have that as evidence to show that Rotarians were involved. That's a key requirement for these grants, is that it has to be hands-on active work. It's not just, hey, we're going to give you some matching funds and you can take your funds and write a check and somebody else does all the work. So I don't know to what extent all of that will be spoken to as we're doing this tonight, but at a high level, that's what our Freedom Trail upgrade project was about.
It's great. How many of the Rotarians from your club came out to help with it, Scott?
We ended up having 7 from our club, and then 4 or 5 other people from, the VFW and like I said, the Kiwanis, and we even had a few city employees from the service department that helped with a few of the like there was a little bit of electrical and water plumbing work that was tied to the water features. So we wanted people who were licensed or had the appropriate background to do those pieces of the work.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Scott? Excellent. Thanks, Scott. All right, Ray, Dale already had you teed up. We'll move over to you.
Well, thank you. I'm with the Northampton Cuyahoga Valley Rotary Club. We had, on a regular basis, been doing cluster Rotary Foundation projects, grants. So we were quite used to the process of when things had to be submitted and what all you could do. So it made it easy for us to go ahead and do one just on our own. And what we decided to do was a butterfly pollinator garden. It was inspired from an article in Rotary's magazine that comes out. One of our members suggested that we put together a proposal that we do this at the Woodridge School District, real close to the elementary school, and involve the elementary school students in it. So this turned out to tick 2 parts of where projects could be done. One was environmental, and the other one is education. So we kind of had a double whammy on benefits on that. And so the way the project went was, at first we had to define the concept of the garden project, its location. We wanted it near the grade school, and then who would be involved. The students, Rotarians, and not just for the initial install, but for ongoing future maintenance so that it would stay looking nice over time. We were able to secure a location thanks to the school district, giving us just a wonderful location and a very visible place. Our next step, as we were developing the concept, was we needed to know how much this was going to cost. So we sought I think it was 3 different rough design plans and cost estimates. Because this was an environmental project, we wanted to make sure that we weren't just using pretty flowers, but that we were using native plants that also look nice. And that was, again, part of our concept. We got all the costs together, and on May 15th, we submitted our proposal to the grants committee for the matching funds from the Rotary Foundation. And then we developed a complete timeline for the grant request, and the timeline was important so that we had things done in a proper order. The garden design finalization had to happen, the timeline for site preparation, selection of the vendor for the plants, setting up an installation date and a rain date, and then defining how many people we needed to have involved. And we figured we needed 3 to 5 Rotarians, 3 of the school's maintenance staff, 10 students, only because we didn't want to have students walking over each other and stepping on plants. We figured 10 was a good number. and then 3 garden center professionals who really knew what they were doing. And in addition to that, having people that were available for press coverage and getting photos. And then part of that plan was the future garden maintenance program. We did ask the school district to develop an educational module on butterfly and pollinator gardens for the students to learn before planting the garden. You know, getting your hands dirty was important with the kids, but also knowing why this was a good thing to be doing. So we asked the school district develop that, and we asked that the students experience this education module before we did the planting of the garden. Also, we had to educate our own Rotarians. You know, butterfly gardens and pollinator gardens sound nice to everybody, but what are they and what's required and what are the maintenance needs? And put together a PowerPoint presentation for the plants we were using and what the care was and where it was going to be and how it could end up looking. At the end of August, we received our funds from the Rotary Foundation. You know, you can't really start anything until you get your money. Now, the school did set aside the land and they did some of their work on the initial preparation of the site. But September, the garden site was prepped, including a walkway, a seating area, and the soil was enriched. And then in October, that was really the fun time. That was the actual installation of the garden, with all of the people that I had said earlier being involved. The best part was just listening to the students and working with them. We had 3rd graders and 5th graders involved, and it was just such a wonderful time watching their fascination over what they were doing. We had over 160 plants to put into the garden, and with the kids and all those people involved, we had the entire garden planted in less than an hour and a half, and it was planted properly. And when I say planted properly, the key to working with native plants is you plant them properly and you let the roots grow deep. And they grow very deep, and that's one of the keys for future maintenance. You don't have to replace a lot of plants because they take root and they come back year after year. We planned a spring cleanup. Figured a few plants wouldn't make it, and we had a few plants that either rabbits or deers love to eat. So we replaced those plants. We left money in our budget for that. We planned ahead, which was a good thing. And we did the cleanup in the spring, replaced the plants and put down the mulch. You know, again, the students were involved. Now this time we had the entire, we had about 35 kids. And it was good because the moving of the mulch and pulling of the weeds, there was a lot to be done. And a number of Rotarians were there to help with that. Turned out we didn't need anyone from the garden center. We had plenty of help on our own. We, shortly after that, submitted our final grant report. And we know this is going to be an ongoing project for us. You know, the bench that we put in and the walkway, we put a plaque up, a dedicated garden, so people knew it was Rotary that was involved with doing this. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't that much work. It was just a little bit of time for the chairman, just coordinating the details and having things show up at the appropriate times. That's all I have, Dale.
Excellent. Have you witnessed pollinators visiting the garden?
Sure have. As a matter of fact, when we were there in the spring, doing the cleanup, you know, there was the buzzing of the bees. There were a few, they were not necessarily butterflies, but they were moths that sort of look like butterflies. And then through the summer, one of the nice things about working with the garden center for the planning of the garden, we said, you know, we want it to look nice. It's in a visible place. Well, the selection of these native plants were plants that a lot of people use in landscaping around their home. And so from, you know, black-eyed Susans to well, butterfly bushes and, purple flowers, all kinds of flowering plants. And it really has worked out well. The first year is getting the roots established, which that has worked well. And now it's going to live on with the students involved. And we'll probably have them out there twice a year in the fall to make sure there aren't a bunch of weeds that grew up over the summer. And then again in the spring to do the weeding and mulch and any replacements we need.
Any questions for Ray?
I think Alan has a question.
Yes.
Hi, thank you. It's actually for both Ray and Scott. I didn't know if you would be able to tell us what type of square footage for both of your projects was, so that it can kind of give me an idea of area that you were building both of these programs in.
I think ours was around 1,000 square feet. It was condensed in a corner where there were kind of two drives right across from the school and where buses went. So it wasn't super large, but again, very, very visible. So I think over right around 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, ours was similar, probably in about a 40 by 50 foot area, at most 2,000 square feet. And the other thing I forgot to mention that Ray talked about is sustainability. That's also often something that is part of these requests, that you have to be able to give the grant committee comfort that you're not going to do the project and then it'll just be kind of left alone, and time will break it down. So like in our case, the city maintains all that area. So we did the one-time project to revamp everything, and then the service department comes through to maintain everything. So we know it's going to stay in good shape for years after we did the project.
One of the satisfying things that I experienced with our project was when we were there in the spring and we were putting the mulch out and getting everything done. Some of the students that were there the second time were from the first time. And as we were wrapping up, he came up to me and he said, "I want to shake your hand and thank you. This has been a fun project. We've learned a lot." It was totally unexpected. It wasn't prompted by a teacher. It was just a student reacting on his own. And it just made the whole project seem worthwhile, that the students did appreciate it.
Ray, have you taken the step further to ask, unless you already did it, ask the students to make markers for each of the different types of plants, perennials that come up in there? Or have they already done that themselves?
No, we didn't do that. But one of the things that I did is in October when we planted it, all of the plants that you get, they all come with the little plastic thing stuck in there that says what the plant is and its use and care. And I was trying to think of what we could give the students so that they could go home and brag about what they did at school. And it dawned on me, it had all of these with the pictures of the flowers on them and everything. And I sat them all down before we all left, and I said, "Now, I want you all to go through these. You can take as many as you wish, because, like I said, we had 160 different plants that we put in. And take it out and show your friends what you planted, show your parents, so that, you can talk about what you've done." Celeste, what you said about identifying what's there in the garden, we haven't done that yet. And that was in the back of my brain as something that we want to do. And I think that'll be a good part of the ongoing education part of the project, of getting the students out there and saying, here's what they are, how are we going to identify them? So let them do a little bit of research so that they're looking it up on their own. And then we can just say, yeah, you got the right ones. Those are the plants.
Yeah, you could buy a lot of the sticks already made, but you can also have them make them. so that they would have that fun of involvement. Not only do they identify it, but then they can put it with the actual plant.
Exactly. It's a fun project. I encourage people to do it if you can, if you can do it and have the cooperation of the school district. We do a lot of stuff for our local school district, and the cooperation is really very strong. But boy,
Right.
it's just fun.
Couple quick questions. We need to keep moving here. Ed, go ahead.
How did you coordinate the students being there? Was this during the school year, during the summer? How did you get them out of class, or was it after school?
It was during the school year. You have different people, different jobs. It was up to the superintendent of schools to determine which students and to get them out of school. It was a school project. So it was during school. I think we did the planning like from 10 to 11:30 one morning, and the same with the cleanups when we did that in the spring. It is a school project, so that just working through the administration to get the kids out, and it was great. They made all those arrangements.
And the
JC?
superintendent is a club member.
Which helps.
JC, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So the question is, how do you get this thing started? Because even identifying the need, is there, like you said, maybe the superintendent's a school is a member, or do you have contacts with with the mayor? Or, I mean, I would love to get the Fairlawn Club more involved and visibly involved in Fairlawn, because our membership is draining. We have a handful of people that pay their dues but never show up for meetings. We don't have a whole lot of interest at the membership level in terms of getting out and bringing people in. But I think like the best way to advertise for the club is to get out and do something for the community.
Yep.
How do we get in contact with what needs to be done?
Yeah.
Well, for us, it was, working with the superintendent and the school district's administration staff. They support us a lot, but that's where it's got to start. They provided the land. We didn't have to pay for any of that. So, you go to the top, talk to the top dog.
In Strongsville, and I know we don't want to get off on too much of a tangent about membership versus grants, but we created a corporate membership. So we allow, like with the city and the schools, they can pay dues that are the equivalent of just a couple membership dues, but then they can rotate people, employees of those organizations to come to our meetings. So they found that to be advantageous, and that's helped us to get more people involved, and helps with coming up with ideas for grants too.
Right. And I'm assuming these were like district level grants, and maybe I missed something at the beginning.
No,
But I'm just trying to identifying the need is kind of like where I'm going at that, and then getting the district involved too.
Yeah, JC, our district has a program where we do local district grants, matching grants. So we take half of the DDF that we get, and that is allocated to district grants, which is what the first two presentations, and then Matt is going to be about those district grants. And we can talk more about that. Actually, I'll talk more about when the seminars are. And then your other question about partnerships, I think that will be an excellent topic to discuss at All Ohio Pets down in Columbus. I think you'll get a lot of good ideas from your co-presidents down there. So,
All right, let's talk about that third district grant we had scheduled. We'll move from Northampton up to north of Ridgeville.
All right, yeah. So we too did a district grant. We partnered with the other clubs in our cluster, and we partnered with Good Nights of Lorain County, and what they do is they identify needs of families that have children in households without beds. So a lot of transient families where maybe they rent and they move year in and year out, and those kids, a lot of them sleep on the floor or share a bed if they're lucky. and they don't have a place to sleep, you know, a warm bed to sleep in, blankets and whatnot. So that's what Good Night's mission is to really try to put a bed, you know, kids in beds. And what they've done is they've got a program where they actually manufacture the beds, get the bedding, et cetera, et cetera. And we partnered, we did the cluster project. So we found out about Good Nights actually during COVID. They did a presentation at one of our, you know, so they were just a speaker at one of our meetings. But Roger's really forgot his name, but he's really a great speaker, does a great job of presenting the need. And I think it comes from, you know, his personal experience as well in identifying the need. And so from there, we each were able to collect and grow the funds for the through the club, and then get the matching grant. And then I think with the matching grant, there was a little bit of a shortage in the match, but we were close to $7,000 for the grant, and we were able to buy 35 beds for kids to go out. And we had, I believe, roughly 40 volunteers on a Saturday out there cutting lumber, putting beds together, assembling, sanding, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's real particular. You can't send a bed out with splinters and other hazardous and dangerous items sticking in. You don't want to send something out to help a kid and then end up hurting them. So it's real particular about making sure we do a good job and making it safe. And then a few weeks later, and actually ongoing, we still have Rotarians and club members going out and visiting households and delivering beds. And I haven't personally gotten to go out and deliver beds, but I understand it's a really moving experience because, you know, they do not just the bed itself, you know, pillow, blankets and all the things you need with the bed. And then also they give them a stuffed animal or, you know, something to sleep with. So, you know, and the families couldn't be more appreciative. And Good Night's vets the families, and they do the background checks on the families to make sure that, you know, they're going to the right place, right people in the right places. And I think from a participation, I think did I say we had about 40 members from the different clubs? Yeah. And so that was the Good Nights project.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I wanted Matt to talk about that one is not only about how cool the project is, and I had the good fortune of being invited to deliver some beds one weekend, and that was amazing. But also that project was publicized within the district, and now several of the clubs in the Cuyahoga North cluster, I think 4 of them, 3 or 4, are doing projects with Good Nights where together the clubs are building or cutting and making the beds together, but then they're distributing them to different zip codes so that they're each a different project. So each club got a grant for Good Nights for that in North Cuyahoga. So that springboard effect of learning about it and spreading the word is one of the biggest it's a cool project.
Yeah, it was, and then to be out there, and it was to get together with everybody and to have such a large, I think overall there were probably, you know, close to 100 people out there that day that we all pitched in. And again, it's an ongoing project. So as far as the sustainability, you know, anytime we can always go and volunteer, they always need hands, you know, like most projects out there. So,
Great.
Yep.
What cluster was it? I know our cluster does a lot of projects together, and the best part about that is you don't spend as much money because everybody contributes a little bit and you can have a big project. But what cluster was that, Matt?
I'm not sure what the name of it. It's North Ridgeville, West.
I think it's Northwest Cuyahoga, Lorraine, or something like that.
Yeah, Westlake, North Shore. I think yeah.
Anything else before we move to the international grants? All right. So 3 very different, very good district projects. We've got a couple of international projects to share with you. We'll start with Sharon.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the Global Grant Scholarship. And just to give you a little overview of what that program is it is a student that's graduated from college that wants to get their master's abroad in one of the 7 areas of focus that are delineated at the Rotary International level. And those are peace building and conflict prevention, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, community economic development, and environment. Environment was just added this past year as the 7th area of focus. The minimum for a global grant scholar is $30,000. There is a sponsoring club, and then you look to find a host club in another country where the student would like to study. And then kind of the process and how it works is the Rotary Club, the sponsoring club, would put together a committee and interview the student, and at the same time be in communication with the regional grants. I think they're called the Regional Global Grant Advisor, and that person helps kind of evaluate the student's application. It follows a similar structure as it has to be in by May 1, because then they go through an interviewing process, an evaluation process, so they can be selected they try like by the beginning of June is when they like to have it solidified, because that student would be going off to study in August or September. So this past year we had a global grant scholar. Ours was kind of a unique situation. She was a student that graduated from Beaumont High School in Cleveland, and she had been part of a Rotary project with us called Project Yes, which is a Youth Empowered to Succeed Through Sailing program that we have. And she was a student there, and she had gone off to college on the East Coast, and she graduated, an incredibly accomplished person, and had done a little bit of research in Rotary and found, that she would love to study under the environmental area of focus abroad. It has to be a 1-year program. So they can't do anything. It's not here in the United States. It is studying abroad. And she had come to us looking to study in Oxford. That global grant was a combination of about $54,000. And how that financial breakdown works is that the district gets their, district designated funds for global grants. And so if the money's available, and they will provide a $1 match with a club. So we provided $20,000. We got $20,000 from the district, and then RI matches the district at 80%. So that's how that. So we got $14,000 roughly from them. And her actual cost of her program came in $400 less than what we thought it was, but it was a $5,400 or $54,000 grant to begin with. The process that we used, we put together a group of 4 pretty established Rotarians to do the interviewing process, and then worked closely with the regional district or regional global grant advisor on the process. We were lucky. Our student was very focused and very, very detailed. So she had a lot of her, the parts to the application already done. No, she did not have any outside funding, but some global grant scholars can come to you and ask for the support. They can have other outside grants and scholarships. They apply those first, and then the Rotary Global Grant would come in addition to. But it still has to be $30,000 or more. So there's still that baseline that you have to hit. So in our process, or in the process, you have to have somebody in your club that's willing to do all of the paperwork inside the Rotary International grants portal. And then she, or the student, ours was a woman, but the student then would fill out their portion in the Rotary International portal. And then it is up to the club to make sure that they track all expenses and keep receipts, anything over $75. So in Cleveland, I actually work for the Rotary Club of Cleveland. So I was the person that was in charge of making sure that the expenses were paid out and that I was getting the receipts for the expenses. That piece of it is very detailed. And the part that goes into the portal is pretty detailed. Throughout the year, it is the student's responsibility to keep in contact both with the sponsoring club, and then they have a host club. So our student went to Oxford. They had a district host that had delineated a club, and she spent a lot of time doing different Rotary things in Oxford, and then joined some of our virtual meetings. When she came home at Christmas, she visited our club, gave us a dissertation of what she had been doing, and kept us, apprised of where she was. She recently has graduated with her master's. She did her master's dissertation last week for us here locally. And then she actually ended up getting a job in Oxford for now under the environmental focus, and will continue her Rotary involvement there. So that's kind of the overview of a district, or of a global grant scholar. I can answer questions.
Sharon, I have a quick question. Was there somebody in your club that was the main person that she dealt with, one or two people continuously in getting everything moving forward?
Yeah, that was me. I was that designated person. You really would need a person, 1 to 2 people in a club to fill out the portal. That same person you would want, responsible for the money. You can set up a separate bank account. We did not do it. That is one way that you can do it, by setting up just a bank account for the global grant, and the money that comes from RI, would go right into that account. We did not. We just used our Cleveland Rotary Foundation account, but did develop, we use QuickBooks, so we developed the right chart of accounts and to keep it all organized. And then her and I worked on a Google Doc for all the expenses and whatever was paid out. I paid the college direct and some certain things like that, but she had all of her food and living expenses that she was paying outside of the school.
Anything else for Sharon? All right, we turn it to Peter Tuttle to bring us home with our panel discussion tonight.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and I just want to say thanks to Sharon. She covered a lot of territory there, and all the things she talked about applied to what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to take a little different approach than she took. Dale asked me to condense what has been a 6-year journey on this project, which is still live and ongoing right now, into 5 minutes. And so I had to choose as to what I was going to focus on. And I'm going to focus on a very critical part of any international grant that you might choose to do in getting it approved. And that's the community assessment, and just what led up to that and how we got to that. And I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to try to paint the picture for you. Just as a little background information, the community we're dealing with is St. Thomas of the Virgin Islands. It's has 50,000 people. 14 schools in it, 7,000 school students. Those three facts are very important in understanding what we're going to talk about. The current RI grant is called the St. Thomas Education and Literacy Grant, and it was approved January 26th of 2021 and was implemented in St. Thomas with the school year 2021-22. The project originated in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands in September of 2017, following 3 destructive hurricanes that devastated the island school system. Remember, there's 14 schools. The morning following the 3rd hurricane, West Geauga High School received a plea for help from a West G alumni that was teaching on the island. The call was referred to the Interact advisor and Geauga West Rotary member, Chelsea Talty. Many of you know her. The following day, a joint Interact and Rotary meeting was held at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we agreed to support the recovery effort, whatever that meant. With the extensive storm damage, it took weeks to finally reach St. Thomas East Rotary. Found them on Facebook and was able to get through. That got the ball rolling and initiated a 3-year journey that included multiple projects and 2 different matching grant applications. West G Interact and Geauga West Rotary remain partners throughout the project, including St. Thomas Eco Rotary and the St. Thomas Interact clubs. Led by Chelsea Talty, Interact played a vital role in fundraising and engaging clubs throughout the District 6630. Chelsea was also a key member on the grant application committee. Based upon the initial critical community assessment, the project targeted was described as part of the recovery efforts after the hurricanes that devastated the region. The project was to restore the high school library to a similar level as before the hurricanes occurred. The West G and St. Thomas Interact clubs were at the center of fundraising and secured $37,658, which was approved for matching grants from District 6630 and District 7020. However, Rotary International did not initially approve the matching international grant. We got turned down. In September 2019, RI reported the project needed to provide new, robust training that would significantly improve educational programming, skill development, expanding knowledge beyond the scope of what was present prior to the disaster. An expanded student-focused community assessment was required. It was like starting over. A new grant committee under the leadership of Geauga West Rotarian Larry Corbis was formed and began meeting in January 2020. The committee was comprised of 9 members, with 5 from St. Thomas, including 3 from school administration and 1 teacher. We also have a teacher from Geauga West Rotary and 1 member from Rotary International, Chicago. The opportunity to serve became clear when the committee received a written Ivana Eudora Keening assessment of high school reading skills of 8th grade students entering 9th grade in the fall of 2020. The average student was 3 to 4 grade levels below 8th grade reading. Therefore, the school with a student population of 750, the high school of 750 in the 9th through 12th grades had a significant reading level deficiency. Immediately addressing the school literacy problem became the mission of the grant committee. In the following weeks, a more in-depth assessment of the problem was conducted with teacher focus groups and meetings with the superintendent of the St. Thomas Board of Education, the head of the English department, and head of vocational education. The community assessment provided the core foundation for the grant and is embedded in all elements of the project. And when I say it's embedded in all the elements, I'm thinking of the 12-step Rotary International grant that had to be prepared. And you needed to tie every step of the way through what your mission was and how it all tied together. The long-term goal of this project is to provide high school graduates of St. Thomas with reading skills needed to secure education, training, and life skills required to effectively contribute to their community and live a quality life. That's the official goal of the project. The Ivana Edorakeen High School Literacy Project secured district and RI matching grants on January 26, 2021. 100% of the donations were utilized to secure the matching grants, resulting in a total fund of $109,803. The budget for the project equals the matching grants. The budget includes student and teacher subscriptions for an online Achieve 3000 literacy platform, books, and classroom supplies. Achieve 3000 is an international and highly regarded digital differentiated education program which offers a specific solution called Empower for grades 9 through 12. Achieve 3000 reports that we can expect ninth graders to reduce their gap in reading level by 1 to 2 grades by the completion of ninth grade. This solution fully engages students, teachers, administrators, and parents with shared goals and access to this learning solution. We had to communicate with all those groups I just enumerated. Teachers will be beneficiaries as the project will help them improve their instructional strategies to support student reading skills. The program also supports English language learners, which is particularly important to the island student population. Many students have varied native languages. As you can imagine, where the primary industry is tourism, and you've got ships coming in from all over the world. A lot of the crew and a lot of the staff meet there, and they're from everywhere around the world. So their kids will have different language requirements. So the product that we had to find was one that addressed that. We're now in the second school year of this 4-year project to dramatically advance student reading skills across all high school grades. This year, there are 255 9th and 10th grade students actively participating in the program. I'm pleased to report that initial assessments of the current participants show 75% with improved reading levels. Next year, 11th grade students will be added, bringing total participation to 350. In the 4th year, we estimate to be at 675 as we add 12th grade to the program. So it's up and running. We got 2 more years to go. And talking about sustainability, Dale asked me about that. Part of the budget says that we've got to begin to raise money in the 4th year to fund continuing programs, and that really has to be done on St. Thomas Island, and we're working on planning that initiative right now. So sustainability is going to be getting the program funded, and this is an island where the average income when we started the project was below $40,000 a year for workers on the island. So it's not a island with a lot of wealthy people on it. And it's challenging. We do fall under the U.S. Department of Education and their rules and regs, and we had to get involved in understanding just how we related to them. And I want to close by thanking some very critical players in this. Rick Pollock of the Cuyahoga Falls Club was on the grant committee at the time, and Rick is a very disciplined Rotarian when it comes to international grants, and he knows his business, and he communicates very clearly with you about what you need to do or not do. And Keith Warbach, it was the our club grant chair at the time, and Keith had been in that role for like 5 years and was very skilled at preparing grants and worked very closely with us in preparing the actual documents. Tim Hall of the St. Thomas Eco Club is fantastic. He's been a past club president and Rotarian. Actually, I don't know how many years, but I do know his father was a member of the club for 35 years. And so he's been engaged in Rotary for a long time. Tremendous individual. He has great relationships on the island, which are very helpful. Chelsea Talty, who is a member of our Rotary Club and also the director or is the district chair for Interact this year and past years. She was very instrumental in understanding the challenges in taking on a literacy problem, and she did a lot of the research required to prepare the grant. Larry Corbis has a background and is a librarian, and currently works with the state of Ohio on libraries. His contributions were immense. And then Carolyn Johnson of the, I got to look at this, at the Yarmouth, Maine Rotary Club, and she was the district governor in that district, but she was also a teacher in Ecuador for 6 years, and she was on the Rotary International Grants Committee for literacy projects, and very helpful as well. Those Rotarians did an outstanding job for us.
Thank you, Peter. We're running over time, but if I could ask your forbearance to give me just a couple more minutes, because I want to give you some information so that you can be better prepared, I hope, to take part in a district grant for your club, and district or global. And whoops, wrong screen. No, you guys are seeing it, but strangely. So I hope you're seeing the qualifications requirements slide. And is that the case?
Yes, we are.
Good. So 2 members need to attend the grant management seminar. Those are coming up. I'll give you the dates in a moment. But we are asking that at least one of those people be the person who will be managing the grant for your club. In the past, we've asked for the president, the incoming president, and the individual who will follow them. This year, we still would like to ensure that the leadership chain is educated, but we also want the person who will be handling the grant to go to the grant management seminar, because not doing that has resulted in a lot of mistaken impressions. There also are 2 MOUs, an MOU and an addendum, and that will be signed by you and the person who will follow you. And those just say that you're going to basically manage the funds properly and only use them for the project. Your club must be current on dues. If there is an open grant that you have, it needs to be current on reporting. Your club's average per capita contribution, average giving to the Rotary Foundation, needs to be $40. Because remember, these monies are monies that are coming back from us from our donations. So we want our clubs that get the district grants to have had some skin in the game. And lastly, you guys have to enter your club's foundation goal in the Goal Center in Rotary Club Central. And if you need reminders on how to do that, if you go to the recording of the September 30th meeting we had on Zoom, which I shared earlier this week. You can see that there, how to do that. And then the last slide is, when are those grant management seminars? They are Saturday, February 10th at 9 a.m., February 21st at 6 p.m. I believe that's a Wednesday, but don't quote me on that. And then March 9th at 9 a.m. They're all on Zoom. We had great feedback from that last time. So registration will be opening fairly soon for those. And then once you've taken the grant management seminar, the grant application process will open on May 15th. And then I'm sorry, March 15th for 24-25 grants. So for your year. And then on May 15th, the grant application inquiry will close. And when we say inquiry, basically what we're looking for is a minimum of 2 sentences for what the project will be. And then the grant subcommittee will get a 2-minute presentation from you or a representative from your club. And they'll just determine fundability. The grant committee doesn't determine whether we like your project or not. They just determine whether it's fundable under the grant guidelines. What project you do is up to your club. The district spending plan then has to be completed by July 15th, which is why we have the June 3rd last date for the fundability presentation, so that we can put our spending plan together, so that we can request from RI the monies for the matching grants. So just so you understand, that's why we have the May 15th and then those 3-month potentials for presenting your fundability presentation, because we have to get that into RI. Then between August 15th and September 15th, usually it's mid to late August, Rotary will complete the review and the check will be sent to the district. If you've completed your grant application, so after fundability is approved, there are 6 questions you have to answer. They're pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You need to develop a budget and a timeline to complete your grant application. And then once the money's approved and you've completed that, then you'll get your check and you can start your project. And August 31st will be the last day to finalize and approve grant applications. And that will be dependent upon the club to get those into us to meet those dates. I know that's a lot that I hit there at the end, but all of that again will be covered in the grant management seminars. And if you've not attended one of those in the recent past, I would suggest you put one of those 3 dates on your calendar, because it'll be vital for you to, if you want to do a district grant, to have that training. And then, are there any questions on that?
Dale,
I went fast.
the 2 slides you just shared with us, what's the quickest way for us to get to those? Are those...
Probably for me to email it to you.
Would you do that, please?
I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Then a couple more things very, very quickly. All Ohio Pets registration will probably open in the middle to late December. We're having a meeting this Saturday where I think we're going to finalize everything on it. We will be launching every year at All Ohio Pets, if you're not aware, we do a service project for our president-elects. And this year, the service project we've chosen is working with an organization called On Our Sleeves, which was started by Nationwide Children's Hospital down in Columbus. And it is, they provide free kindness kits to elementary teachers who request them. And they provide curricula and stickers and pencils and stuff for the kids to try to prevent bullying, to try to build kindness at an early age, to try to improve children's mental health. And we're going to be doing a soft launch on that early next week to try to give you guys a chance, if you're interested, to work with your school district to see if they would be interested in partnering with you on those. Those kits will cost us $25 each if we want to buy them. And kind of the idea, if you want to work with your school, is that hopefully your club would buy enough kits for each classroom. if you want to do that with your local schools. And then lastly, you've all seen my emails for January 3rd. Our final Zoom pre-pets will be on public image. Honestly, I attended all the pre-pets last year, and the public image one was one of the most fun ones to attend. So I hope you make time for that on January 3rd. Last year it only went 47 minutes, by the way. So we'll say we'll get the benefit of some of the time we went over on January 3rd. So I know I rushed there at the end, but I want to be cognizant of your time. And but I do. If you guys have any questions, guys and gals, please let me know. And we will be once again sharing the recording of this for those who weren't able to attend, or if you want to review it for your own viewing pleasure. So if there are no questions, I hope you enjoy your evening and have a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful and productive New Year. And we'll see you on the 3rd.
All right.
Take care.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.